All right, we will go ahead and get started. Good morning. Thank you for joining our session today about different reporting strategies using the integrated Sentricon web services web applications. I know that we have multiple different types of IT software systems that you all are using to communicate with us. So today, Jodi and I will be reviewing some of the particulars of the Sentricon specific pages that are hosted within your software from Corteva. They are the pages that have a green and black header at the top. If you are using a different kind of integration with us, this might not be the most valuable session for you. But if when Jodi starts going through her slides, these look familiar, you are in the right place. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. Thank you again for joining us today. We know your time is very valuable, especially bright and early on a Monday morning, depending on which time zone you're in. My name is Jessi Allen. I am the business analyst for the Sentricon business, and we also have Jodi Dalton with us today, who is our customer support specialist for Sentricon. Jodi is going to go through the first half of the presentation this morning with some tips and tricks about our various Sentricon integrated pages, and then I'm going to do a live demo the second half of our session today, going over the different various reports we have. We are not planning to unmute attendees here, so if you have a question, please put it into the Q&A function. If you put it in the Q&A function, other attendees will be able to read your question and see the answers from us that we put in there. We also will stop several times along the way to address any questions that are easier to talk through instead of answering in the Q&A feature. But Jodi and I will take turns monitoring that feature to answer your questions in real time. This session is being recorded and will be emailed out after the fact as well. So if you're trying to listen and take notes, we will be sending you the link as a registered attendee if you'd like to just watch and then take notes later on your own after the fact. And with that, I will turn it over to Jodi.
Good morning. Next slide. As Jessi said, the goal for today is to provide everyone with tips and tricks you can use to make your jobs a little easier. First up, I'll show you how to quickly find key pieces of data for a specific site within the Sentricon site information pages. Then I will go over helpful tips you can use on the renewal page and communication page. After that, Jessi will take over and do a live demonstration on how you can create custom reports within the Sentricon system. All right, let's get started. The Sentricon site information page. So this is what the Sentricon site information page will look like. How you get to it, though, will depend upon the pest software you use. There really is so much data you can find right here on this page. For example, the Sentricon anniversary date is the site's renewal date. And then right below the Sentricon anniversary date, you can either renew or unrenew the site. And even more importantly, you can find out the site's history with Sentricon by these tabs located at the bottom of the page. I can't even begin to tell you how often we visit each of these tabs within a site when we receive your questions. Let's start with the cancellation tab. So what you'll do is click on cancellation, and then you'll need to click on view history. Once you do that, a box will pop up showing the site's cancellation history. It will also show you the date it was canceled and the user ID that entered the cancellation. If you click on the cancellation tab and you do not see the view history button, this means there is no cancellation data to display. The next tab over is the audit history tab. Click audit history, then click view history. You'll be able to view almost everything you need to know about the changes that have been made to a site. For example, if you look at the bottom of the list, you will see the site was first installed on 4/19/2023. And then a few lines up, It shows where it was canceled on 8/27 of 2024. Not only can you see what has transpired within a site, but you can also find out when it was done and the username who performed the change. The last tab to view is invoice history. Sometimes we get questions asking if the site has ever been communicated to us. So if you go to invoice history and then click view history, you will be able to see every time this site was communicated to Corteva. In this example, you can see the site was communicated to us for the initial installation on 7/2/2020. Then on 3/17 of 2023 and 3/17 of 2022 and 3/17 of 2023, they submitted a renewal. Somewhere between the renewal submitted on 3/17 of 2023 and 9/4 of 2024, this site was canceled, and then on 9/5 of 2024, it was reactivated. So next up, moving right along to renewals. There are a couple different ways to find out which sites are ready to be renewed. Today, I want to touch on the two most common and easiest ways of doing it. One is by going to the Sentricon Systems renewal page. Again, how you navigate to this page will depend on which pest software you use. On the Sentricon System renewal page, you can find out how many total awaiting renewals are due. And you can also see how many renewals are greater than 6 months past due. And while you're on this page, you can go ahead and check the renewal box for all the sites you plan to add to your communication page. Once you have selected your renewals, click Save Renewed, and the sites will drop off your awaiting renewal list and appear on your communication page. If you have any questions about a site on this list, say maybe you don't feel it should be there, you can click on the blue numbers under the site column, and it will take you directly to the Sentricon site information page, where you can then check the audit and invoice history to see if the site has already been reported to us. I'm going to guess the most common way a lot of you might find your awaiting renewals is from the communication page. On the communication page, all you need to do is click the renewal list button at the top, and then you'll be redirected to the renewal list. Now you can select your sites to be renewed and click Save Renewed. But let's say you renewed way too many sites and now you need to fix it. Don't worry, go to your renewal list page, click Renewed at the top, and then you will be able to see all the sites you currently have renewed that are showing on your monthly communication page. You can either click each individual site that you want to unrenew, or you can click Select All at the top, and this will remove all the selected renewals. Make sure to click Unrenewed, Save Unrenewed when you are finished. Finally, the monthly communication page. Excuse me. Just like the site information page, there's so much you can find on the communication page as well. First off, the notification center at the top of your screen will tell you if your branch has not yet communicated. It will also show you if you have any sites that are greater than 400 linear feet. This message will show up in red font to alert you. Keep in mind, this is not a hard stop, but instead a reminder for you to please double check and make sure all the data shown is correct before you approve and submit to us for invoicing. Something else you'll notice on this page is that all the different installation types are categorized together. You can see here we have standard installations grouped together, linear footage adjustments, and then renewals. Then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your communication page, you will see two sections, one titled Business Information and the other Service Excellence. For the business information, awaiting renewals that are listed there equal the total number of sites that need to be renewed for the current month. Then, under awaiting renewals, there are cancellations. This will show you how many cancellations your branch has submitted for the month. After the business information section, underneath that, the service excellence section, for average station spacing, this information is only available if your location scans stations and records them. Corteva does not require you to scan stations. So if there is no information listed for this category, it is okay. Next up under that is past due service. This means we show no record of a physical inspection being performed. Keep in mind though, this does not mean the past due service is sites that are ready to be renewed. Past due service and Sentricon renewal are two different things. Please do not get those two mixed up. Then finally, we have currently protected. This number represents how many active sites are greater than or equal to 400 linear feet and how many are less than 400 linear feet currently. Okay, so let's say you received your Corteva invoice and the number of renewals listed on the invoice doesn't look right. The individual who normally approves and submits the monthly communication data is on vacation for the week, and your boss is asking you for a list of sites that were communicated to Corteva on the monthly communication page last month. You have no idea where to look until now. All you need to do is go to your monthly communication page, click the drop down for reporting period, select the month you need, click Find, and then a screen will pop up with all the sites communicated for the month you specified. You can then click Export to Excel, and this will put your data in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can present it to your boss. Keep in mind, this way of doing it is the best way to do it if you're only looking for, say, 1 month of data at a time. If you're looking for more than just 1 month, Jessi will show you how you can pull multiple months or years at one time. And then finally, important information to know and remember about Sentricon invoicing. Monthly communications are due by the 5th business day of the month. A CSS can only report 1 time per month. So for example, if you have renewals on your communication page and you forgot to do 5 of them, you're not going to be able to add those and then communicate again for that month. They'll have to wait and be communicated for the next month. And again, once the CSS has approved and submitted their monthly communication to Corteva, nothing can be changed. So, I mean, obviously we have ways of fixing things, but once it's been communicated to us, we're not going to be able to go in and change an installation type or remove a renewal. And finally, I need to stress our Sentricon support functional mailbox is not being monitored daily. I know we are still receiving requests and questions. I strongly urge you, if you do have a question, please submit it using our Sentricon customer care portal. And right there is the website. So after that, next up, I'll turn it over to Jessi and she can do her live demonstration on Sentricon custom reporting.
All right, thank you. I answered all the questions that were open in the Q&A, but Jodi will take over answering those. And a few times during this session, I'll stop and see if there's any questions we want to talk through live in here as well. Okay, let me share my screen. There. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. Jodi, can you just confirm you can see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we are going to review two different kinds of reports today. The first are reports on this screen, which is called the reporting and analytics screen. And these are reports that are canned. They've already been pre-designed by our team at Corteva and posted for your visibility to see. Now, this area is permission level restricted. There are 4 user permissions at Corteva for our pages. These permissions are able to be managed through your software partner in various ways, but you have to have the 2 highest permission levels to run these reports. So if you can't find this page and you can't see it, you can reach out to your IT partner. And when we say IT partner, we mean PestPack, Pest Routes, Field Routes, ServSuite, those companies that we're integrated with to assist in managing your permissions. But these are higher level permission areas. And you access them in different places in your reporting software. So you can open a request with your IT partner's support team to find out where to find this, because it's posted in different places in their software, but the page looks the same regardless of which software platform you're using. So there are a lot of different canned reports here. One thing I do like about this page, if you are a multi-branch pest control company, you can run reports here for all branches that you have access to with your user permissions. So in this example, my training user has access to 2 branches. So if I want to look at all my awaiting renewals, everything that is still sitting out there needing to be paid to Corteva, I can run a list for both branches instead of having to go to the 2 different renewal pages that Jodi was showing earlier. And so you can combine reports or run them for just a single branch at a time. There are a lot of reports on this page. I'm going to go over the couple that I think are the most commonly used or give you the most information. Some of these reports will not be useful to you if you're not scanning your stations. A good number of them at the top here are about scanned station information, but this is where you can get essentially everything we have in our database regarding your Sentricon data. So I'm going to just select both branches here because I want to see both of my locations. And so some things here, you can see lots of different reports. All of the reports can be run in PDF or Excel. Personally, I like Excel because I like to put filters on things and manipulate the data. But if you want to print the report out, running it in PDF might be a better option for you because it prints in a cleaner, nicer format. And so when I'm clicking here, active sites, this will give you a list of all of the active accounts that Corteva has identified to your specific CSS codes. So you pick whether you want PDF or Excel. So if I click PDF here, it takes a minute for it to queue and run depending on how big your branch is. But after a minute, it shows here with this timestamp of this morning, 11:20. It has this number of customers, 797 customers, 1,226 sites related to both of these branches. A report will remain here queued on your page for up to 3 days, and then you would have to refresh it and run it again. So it has this timestamp. You could also click refresh right here. If maybe you ran it yesterday, then today you went in and cleaned up a bunch of data and you want to run it again and see how it looks, you can just click refresh and it would pull it down fresh again. And we are going to click this blue hyperlink to download this report. So I have it already here in Excel so we can look at it, but I downloaded the PDF version so you can see both. So when we open, here's our list. And again, especially if you're a really big branch, personally, I prefer Excel, but here is what this report format looks like. Most of these reports tend to have this same kind of format where it's showing us the branch at the top of the page, the date we ran it, customer number, site number, name and address. I'm sure you can tell from this view, this is a lot of test junk data we have in here. But it shows us the route, anniversary date, a lot of different features. If I want to look at this in Excel, I'll close this. This is what the Excel format looks like. So the first page, when you run any of these reports, it's going to show you what did you run. So it's showing me active sites report. I ran it for these 2 branches. Here's my user ID. And I flip over to detail in this tab down here at the bottom. And that is going to show me same information that was in the PDF, just in an Excel file. So we've got our which branch it belongs to, the name of the branch, and again, customer, site, linear footage, when was it installed. This is your list of all the active sites for your branch, including the anniversary date that we have associated with that site and the next service date. So this report can be very helpful if you're doing, you maybe want to do cross-reference activities. If you want to run a active sites report of some kind out of your software and compare the two to see, are we missing some on our side or do we have too many on our side? This report could be helpful in reconciling your data between your pest software and the Corteva Sentricon database. So another popular site I mentioned, another report, is this awaiting renewal list. So you can go to your renewal page, select a date range, and you can export the data from that page. But you can also do that here, where if you don't pick a date range, it's going to tell you all of the awaiting renewals sitting out on that branch. But maybe I just want to see anything that is greater than 90 days past the anniversary date. So I can say I want to see anything from, maybe we'll go to the beginning of the year, January 1st to today. So anything that's past due. I'll click Excel and now it dumps it into my queue here and starts downloading it. And again, I have both branches selected. So this is going to tell me I have 83 sites where the anniversary date is between January 1st and today. So past due. And when we, same thing, I'm not going to go through the process of downloading all of these, but you would download it into Excel. I pulled another one here just for us to look at. So this report is showing us our branch name, the name of the site, address, city and state, our customer number, site number, and our anniversary date. Now, what I want to speak to here is, where does this anniversary date come from with renewals? Our system is not tying our Sentricon anniversary date to the renewal date of the contract in your pest software at all. This defaults to 1 year after we see the install work order completion. So when you go and enter a site into your software, you're adding the name, address, whatever. And somewhere in there, in all of our integrated partners, there's something called a work order that gets completed. That is how we know the stations went into the ground. So in PestPack, for example, a setup is created, but a site is not completed until we see the work orders get posted and batches released. And so those posted work orders complete and give us the install date. In ServSuite, those were called services. I think in Field Routes, that's subscriptions. When the appointment is completed, the install appointment, we get that date from Field Routes. And so this anniversary date is 1 year after that install is completed. It's not a date anyone is manually entering anywhere, and it's not tied to the contract renewal date in your software. and it indicates 1 year after the install when that renewal is owed to Corteva. So when we talk about renewals and anniversary date on this call, that's what we're referring to, not when you're receiving contract payment in your software. Theoretically, these dates should be falling in the same month if you have annual renewals, but sometimes they do get out of skew. So in this column here, we've got our anniversary dates. And if it's anything other than 2024, like an example in our branch, then it's more than 1 year behind. And it has to have 2, 3, however many renewals allocated to be caught up. Okay, we will close that one. Were there any questions, Jodi, that would be better for me to discuss about those renewal dates?
There's not a question regarding the renewal date, but we did have a question. How do they find the reports and analytics sites in their pest software?
Did they say which one they're using?
They're using PestPack. I didn't know if there was like a
So
tool.
in PestPack, you would go to reports, and then in the bottom right corner, there's a little box that says Sentricon reports. And when you click that, it will open up this page. In field routes, when you go to Sentricon at the top of the page, it opens up a list and you go to Sentricon UI pages, and in those little tabs that say communication, renewals, reports is the last one. Those are the only two I know where they are off the top of my head, but they are embedded in all of our integrated partners. And so you could open up a request with any of the support teams of our software partners to figure out how to find this page. Okay, a few of the other reports that are also good to look at. The next one is called unreported sites. For Corteva, these are essentially what we call pending installs. That means it is a site that was created, and for some reason we have not captured an install date, and it has been more than 30 days since the site was made. Sometimes this just is it's not necessarily something to be concerned about. You could be in the busy time of year, you're running behind on production. It could be you've sold a job, but the structure is not completed yet. So like new construction where you literally haven't put the stations in the ground yet. So it's not always a cause for concern, but typically within 30 days of a site being created, we sort of think you're going to go put stations in the ground there. So what this report is showing is an address was entered into the system, but no install date was captured. And for us, these also could be sometimes like maybe the homeowner canceled last minute, or they decided they wanted to put it off until they finished building a deck or whatever. But some of these sites, when you look at this page, they will be created a long time ago. They could be software errors. If you changed systems from PestPack to ServSuite or something like that, they could be different software errors that they just need to be deleted or cleaned up. And so the data here will show you the customer and site number, name and address, and how many days it's been since we saw the site was made, but we have not captured an install date for that property. Your Sentricon territory manager will probably also ask you a lot of questions about these because they're reported out to our territory managers as unreported sites and awaiting renewals are two kind of factors that if they get beyond a certain point, they're going to ask some questions to you about them to try to figure out if something's going on with the software integration or there's some other reason why they exist. Another good report here is cancellations. So Jodi went over that tab that you could look at an individual site's cancellation. But if you wanted to look at all of your cancellations over a certain point of time, you can select a date range here and say, I want to see all my cancellations from the summer. And you could go ahead and run that report. And it's going to show you all the cancellations that we have on file for your branch. And the cancellation report, okay, there was only one in this example. It does consolidate the site and customer and address into a single file, but or into a single cell on this report. So this report might look better in the PDF format, but this is just showing show you the cancellation date, a cancellation reason, and the current status as inactive for this site if you want to run a cancellation report. I did want to call out this report here that Jodi mentioned, sites past due. That also displays on your communication page. Sites past due in this instance means the physical inspection that we expected the next service date to be whatever your frequencies are, if you're going at 6 months or 1 year, however that's set up in your software, that when that site came due for service, we did not see a service order completion from your software about that property. And that is different than an awaiting renewal. That is meaning the monetary transaction for that renewal payment to Corteva. Sites past due is talking about the actual physical inspection to be within label compliance for the product. And so sites past due is physical inspection. Awaiting renewals is, did the customer keep the system or did you remove it? And if they kept it, a renewal is owed to Corteva. The rest of these reports are, the last one I'll look at is our installations by branch. If you feel like something is off, like Jodi said, you're looking at your communication page and you think I did 20 installs this month, but for some reason, my Sentricon communication page only shows 10. You could come run an installation report over a certain date range here if you wanted to look at your installs, from the previous month. We'll say I want to see everything I did in that time range. You can run it in Excel and look at installations. This one might be, I'm surprised there's one in here. This is a test branch, but when you run these reports, it's going to show you essentially those work order completions that I was talking about from the software, where we say, hey, yep, a site was done, it was installed. This one I ran for a longer period of time, but again, we can see all of our properties here, linear footage, and how many stations, if stations were scanned during that install. Okay. Any other questions, Jodi? The other thing you can do is say you're doing a session and you've gotten too many in here, you can delete them so they're not clogging up your view as you're doing additional work in here. Any questions I should address before I move on to the report writer?
There is a question that I'm not sure the answer to. Is there any report that gives us a rough estimate of renewals/invoice costs?
No. So in these reports, there is no invoicing information related to what you pay Corteva. You will need to work with your territory manager, your Sentricon territory manager, for that renewal or install costs. This just shows the data that drives the invoice, but the actual dollar amount of those transactions is not captured in this system. So there's no, unfortunately, there's no page that will give you a cost estimate before you hit approve and send us the data. Okay. The last area I want to go over is what we call the Sentricon report writer. This is where you can go and create your own customized reports, but it's a little trickier than these canned reports because it will launch an external application for Sentricon. It'll take you out of your pest partner software, and you will need to log in with the user credentials that exist between Sentricon and your partner software. However, often this is not actually your credentials that you are typing to log into your software to do your day-to-day work. It's a user token that is created between our two systems. And we are working on building a report that will live on this page that will show you all of your users, their username in the Sentricon system and the permission level that they have. that will live on this page, so you can quickly get that information that you need to log in to this report writer, but we haven't launched it yet. Another little hack to do that, though, is if we come up to this green header and just regular click, so left click right here, it will show all the information about my user session that I am logged into, including this 3 letters here we call the company key and my user ID. And it will also give us a lot more information about like my IP address or what pages I'm on. But this gives me the information I need to log into the report writer. So until we have that report ready, and again, I just got there by clicking up here in this green bar with 1 click. This is also handy. It can be copied to the clipboard if you're having some type of technical issue and you need our support. It can sometimes be helpful for you to include this information. If you say, hey, I went to the report landing page and nothing displayed, you can give us this information and we can track down in our logs if there's some kind of error occurring. So it can be helpful from that perspective. But I see here my company key is DAT and my username is J Allen Training. So when I click launch here, it's going to open my page that looks like this, taking you to an external portal. I'm going to change to my other ID here. And then you're going to have to enter that company key right here. If you have not reset your password in a long time, you can also do the forgot password function and it will email you a password reset, because this password is sometimes passed back and forth between our systems and we don't have the ability to see it and tell you what your password is in our support team. You just have to reset it. So if I go to DAT here and say this is who I'm logging in as, you can do the remember me function so it will remember, you know, your username, password, whatnot. But again, this is not the username most of the time that you are logging in to your system. It's some username that's created by our integration, taking pieces of information from both systems. And then that company key is DAT. I will put up briefly on the screen. I did make some slides that I think I'll be able to send out after this with some of these screenshots here. And these are the company keys for all of the integrated partners. So I'll leave it there for a second if you want to write yours down quickly, but I'll try to send this slide deck out. If not, we can post it in our customer care site that Jodi showed. There's a knowledge center where we can post some of this information if we don't have the ability to send the slides out with the thank you email to attendees. But these are the various company keys for our connected partners. Okay, so when I log in, I thought I was going to do that. Let's see if I can remember my password. I thought it was saved, but we all have so many passwords these days. It's a real feat when you get it on the first try. So this is what we call our Sentricon portal. It takes you out to these various reports. 2 things I want to call out on this page. I'm going to show you how to do this, but if you have a report that you want to build and you want to run it every week or on some set frequency and you don't want to build that report over and over, if you save it, it will save onto this landing page where you can just click it right here from the home page and say, I want to run this. I'm always going to want the same features to be in it. You can run it all the time from right here. When you log in, you will also have access to all of the branches your permissions currently exist for. So if you have 10 branches you have access to, they will all be here in this one report writer, and you can select which branch you want to look at without having to have a different login for every branch. I recommend today we're going to look at reports and just building the custom reports. These published reports were published a long time ago, and some of the features are not relevant for what we're doing today, like around old product types. So I would just use these reports right here. So this is a customizable report writer. There are 3 categories. Let me make this a little bigger. So there are 3 categories at the top here: site level reports, station level reports, and communication level reports. A site level report means when you run this, you are going to get a site level detail to look at the specifics of your customers' makeup. So your homeowners, information that Corteva is using on our side for invoicing and everything. So you can select these boxes and build reports. On the station level, this is giving you granular details if you scan stations about barcodes, bait status, bait barcode, last time it was inspected, so station level reports. And then communication, like Jodi mentioned, this will be how, if you want to see everything Corteva has invoiced you for the last 2 years, you can run those reports here yourself. If you want to look at just what we've billed you for installs or just renewals. So we're going to build a report in each of these just to do that for you. And if you want to save them, you can go in here, you can type names, you can type descriptions. And if it's a report you want to use all the time, here's the button where you can save it and it will appear on your home screen. This is an area too, I think would be very useful for you to use if you want to compare things like at a granular level. Have I been entering my install types correctly? When I want to know all of my sites coming due for service, so next service date in the next 6 months, because I'm getting ready to move software systems and I want to make sure I have a hard copy before I do that of everything that's going to come due for service. Things like that can be run out of these reports. So if we just click this, it's going to give us branch. And if you click in here, you can say, I only want to run it for the single branch 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can highlight both and say, I want to run it for both branches. You can say, I want to see the site number. I want to see the customer number, the address, city, state, and last name. And then maybe I want to see install type. And then for anything that has this drop down arrow here, you can click install type and it will show you all of them. Or you can say, I want to see something just existing customers. And I want to see them between a certain linear footage range, or I want to see them for a certain install date. So all of these filters are customizable, or if you just click install date or anniversary date, it will show you everything. There's additional fields down here that can be user defined, like I want to see construction year, or if you're putting this information in and we have a copy of it, you can pull it by that type of information. Then you can look at creation date of the sites, all kinds of information. And say you decide, gosh, I really don't want last name to be after the address. I can just click last name and drag it over here to rechange how the columns will appear in my report. So I'm going to click run. And here's all the information. And I can look at it just here in the web browser if I want to. Or I can export it to Excel to save and do something else with. And if I click save, oh, I didn't name it. I'll just name it active existing customers. I'll save it, and then I can export it to Excel to look at another time. Then when I'm done, I can go back and say I decide I want to add one more feature, I can add that, or for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to our station reports. And if you want to start over, you can just click clear. It clears out all your selections and you begin again. So station level reports, very similar. All the pages work the same way, but this is going to show us again by branch. If we have our customer information, site address, all of that. And then we can look at service dates for the stations, first time the station was hit, first time it was baited, the last time it was installed and checked. We can pull in station name, station number, barcode, various things. The other thing you can look at is station type. And so you can say, oh, what kind of station type is it here? Or over here, we've got where you can find, I want to see all of my above grounds at my branch, or I want to see all of the always active stations, or maybe you happen to have a little bit of old product hanging out there and you want to see some type of Recruit 3 or ESP. All those station types can be pulled here. Same thing for bait status. We can look at the bait barcodes. So let me just pull a couple in here. We'll pull in station number, mode, station barcode, bait barcode. Down here, stack number. This is for above ground stations, how many are stacked together, and any additional creation date information. Maybe I want to see when it was created. So if we run this, it's going to show us the barcode information we selected. Oh, I forgot to select a branch. So it's going to be thinking really hard because I didn't specify what I wanted to see. So anyways, this is showing us different information. We can export that as well. Since this is a test branch, it looks like we haven't scanned in any data on some of these. There's some with station barcode numbers, bait barcodes entered in there. And again, you can export all of these back out to Excel. Jodi, any questions on those two reports I should speak to before communication?
Not those two reports, but I do have some questions for you.
Do you think I should do them now? Yeah, let's go ahead and do those.
Well, okay, yes. If the site was missed last year for renewal and the customer decides to renew it this year, how does this need to be handled?
I guess it would depend on if the site was still active or inactive. So if the customer did not renew last year and you canceled the account, that would be a reactivation. You go back in and you activate that site again. When you do a reactivation, it bumps the renewal out to the next year. So if you canceled it September of last year and they came back September of this year, you reactivate that. We charge you a reactivation fee, which is very similar to a renewal fee in terms of the number. You can get your territory manager to give you specific pricing, and that new renewal date would be September of 2025. So if you've inactivated it, that's how it would be. If you did not inactivate it and that customer pays you a year late, it does not change that 2 renewals are still owed to Corteva. So if the renewal date was September of 2023, they pay in September of 24. When you check that renewal box, it advances the renewal with Corteva to September of 24, and then you still need to pay one more to get to September of 25. Any other questions, Jodi?
That is all for right now.
Okay. So the last tab here is communication, and that's what we call these invoicing periods where you're sending us data. So we'll say, I want to look at ambush bug, and you can pick your reporting period here, and you can go back basically as far back as we've been integrated with you on Sentricon Web Services. So if you joined SWS, we'll say in December of 2017, we'll have that data all the way back to then. But if I want to look at everything I've been invoiced for just in the last year, I can do September 2023 to September 2024. And again, there's going to be no dollars on these reports. These will just be the site level data that drove your invoice. And we can say, I like to come down here first and click event type personally, because I like the way it looks to have branch, reporting period, event type. So was it an install, renewal, conversion? I'm just going to for simplicity of the report, pick installs and renewals. And we can say, I want to know the site number, last name, address. I want to know the install date. And maybe I also want to know the linear footage and the anniversary date. There's a lot of other information you can pull in here to show about was it retrofitted. These are some old terms that some of y'all who've been customers a long time will recognize, but conversions from other product types and whatnot. Another criteria I like to grab here is communication date, because the reporting period right now, we're in the September reporting period, and you will communicate that October 5th. But communication date, when you add that to this report, shows you the day you actually sent it to us, which will also then be the same day your invoice was generated. So when you're trying to match up these reports to your invoices, communication date is the day you will have received that invoice. So if we communicated today and we see communication date September 16th in this report, and you had 3 invoices you were looking at, the data on this report would show September 16th as the communication date, September 16th as the invoice date, with October 20th as the due date. So I'm going to run this. And I'm going to export this one to Excel for us to close out our conversation on. Because the one thing I want to point out here is where it says reporting month 0, that means this is what is currently sitting on the reporting page to come in October, the next time that you report. So communication date is blank, and the reporting month and year is 0. So when you run this report, if you're seeing zeros, that means it is pending or yet to be sent. But the rest of these, if I come up here and I click filter, I can add a filter, which will allow me to unselect, oh, okay, well, we haven't submitted data for these test branches, I guess, in the month of September. So this is showing our branch, reporting month and reporting year. So we haven't communicated this branch because it's a test branch, but if you had done this last month, it would show 08/2024 here. We've got our install and renewal event types, the last name, site number, address, our install date, linear footage, which drives the invoice, is that linear footage as well. Our Sentricon anniversary date, and our communication date would show the date that we had actually submitted our data. And the anniversary date, when you pull this in, shows at the time the transaction occurred, not what it is as of this moment. So some of these you can see are past or in a future of today's date. So when this renewal was clicked, the anniversary date became October 8th, 2024. So it's showing you at the event level. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, so I will stop going over this information for now. But again, if I go back, we can build these customized reports. And if I go home, that report that I saved is now showing here on my homepage, and I can run, edit. And if you were like a power user admin who wants to build these reports for other people at your company, you could click publish and it would push out to other users at your location. So any other questions, Jodi? I know we've got about 5 minutes left, so I wanted to save time for anything in the Q&A.
I guess one is, do you know if Gorilla Desk software will be integrated with Sentricon soon?
I do know that those conversations have been taking place. I don't know the timeline for any interactions or integrations.
And then as far as field works go, any of the reports that you just showed, do they have to go to the website since there's nothing else integrated within FieldWorks?
So anybody who has an enabled integration can go to this web browser and pull up the reports that I just showed for the report writer. If for some reason your partner doesn't have this reporting web page embedded yet in their application, you can access this information here, this portal, no matter what they have integrated on their side, because it's intended to be launched and used as an external application. So that's Sentricon-portal-prod.azure. It's kind of a big website here. But like I said, I do have the web link in my slides that I made here that we will try to get out somehow to the participants. So that web link and all that information that I went over is in these slides with screenshots that we will try to get through. So if they don't have this for some reason or you can't find that, that would not limit your ability to go to the report writer.
Why did Real Green not show any one of the software partners with the key?
I probably just forgot to add them. They are integrated. Their key is RG. I probably just forgot. So I will add those before they come out. So it's Real Green and the key is RG, I believe.
And then just some other questions. How do we handle duplicated sites?
Okay, we definitely don't have 3 minutes to go into all of that. My suggestion would be if you're having some type of data issue where you feel like you have duplicates that are not accurate, to submit a support request in that customercare.centricon.com so that we can go over that with you specifically. But duplicates are not restricted from occurring in the system, meaning 2 sites at the same address, because often we will have more than one structure at the same address. So there might be an apartment complex and they all have the same address, or it could be a large house that also has a big shed or a pool house or a barn. So there is no automatic restriction on addresses that are the same being in the system. So if you're having an issue with that, you should open a support request so we can look into if you're having some type of problem.
And then the last question is, if I want to change someone's renewal price, do I need to create a new work order?
So the pricing that drives to your customer is not in anything we just showed. That is all managed in your own software with your own software partner. All the information we showed is basically about our relationship with you regarding that site and your invoicing to us. So the invoicing to your homeowner is not touched by anything that we saw, and you would want to open a support request with your IT partner to understand how to do that in such a way it doesn't accidentally cancel our site and make a new one.
And that was all that there is.
Okay, well, like we said, this was recorded. The session will be emailed out to all registered attendees. You are welcome to share it and use it with your teams. We'll try to get the slides out somehow as well, even if it's just posting them in our customer care. But we really appreciate your time today and spending your hopefully soon lunch hour to everybody with us. We hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you.